All righty. How's everyone doing? New year. Thanks for coming, everyone. We have some people on Zoom, about 5 people on Zoom. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jeff Howell. I live next to Jan, who is our former chair. I've lived in this neighborhood for about 10 years. I was born here in Salt Lake City. I've have a unique background. I worked in politics for the first couple of years of my life in Washington, D.C. during the Obama administration. Worked on several different political campaigns for Ben McAdams. Who else? A guy named Ro Khanna in California. He's a congressman right now. And about 10 years ago, I moved back to Salt Lake City with my family, and I worked for a tech company called Workday. And on the side, I've been involved in some different non-for-profits here. I'm serving on some different boards, and I absolutely love this community. Yellcrest is a special place. It's one of the reasons why I want to get involved, and I want to make sure that we maintain this incredible community with the people we have here, our culture, and so I want to continue to be involved. And so that's a little bit about me. I just live on Harvard Avenue next to Bonneville Elementary School. I have 4 boys. They run our house. It's nuts. 4 boys under the age of 8. We just had a newborn 4 months ago, so we're a little sleep deprived, but we're handling it. We have an awesome agenda. Before I jump in, I just wanted to thank Jan for her incredible leadership over the past couple of years. We got still the Zoom people. This is for me and the board. The board is kind of.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Jan. I don't think anyone cares more about this community than Jan. She cares desperately about this area. So let's go ahead and get started. We have Representative Hong Nguyen. She'll be speaking to us for about 10 minutes, and then she'll also want to do some Q&A. And then we have Ashley from Asana Partners. And then we'll have you, I have your deck up here. And then we have Dan Dugan, City Councilman Dan Dugan, who'll share some words. And then Hannah Barton from the mayor's office. And then we'll end there. So yeah, if you come up here and if you come here, you can either stand or sit. Just make sure they can see you on here. Everyone on Zoom good? Hopefully. I think, yeah, before we jump in, sorry. Just a few announcements. I'm sure everyone saw the new trash pickup for the area. It'll be on Mondays, starting February 3rd, I believe. February 3rd. Does anyone else have any comments or announcements before we jump in? Just want to give everyone an opportunity to share anything. Sweet.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Jeff was a formidable challenger during the primary. We went rounds and rounds. So thank you so much for welcoming me. And thank you, Jan. I've had the honor and pleasure of coming and participating in Yellcrest Community Council meetings for the last year, 2 years now, on and off. And Jan has always been a great advocate for this community. So thank you for all your service. And Jeff, you're going to be a great community chair for this district here. My name is Hong Nguyen. I am the newly elected representative for our district in House District 23. We also cover part of Summit County as well, up at Summit Park there. As a freshman, as a Democrat coming into a super minority, my #1 goal for the first session, only the first session, is to really work hard to build those relationships across the aisle, kind of watch and learn and really take it all in. A 45-day session is a breakneck record on how fast we do and how many bills, because we're anticipating it's probably going to be hopefully not another record-breaking year of how many bills are filed like last year. But it's still going to be a lot. But I'm going to be really working hard to represent our community. I've lived in this community for the last 20 years, on and off now. And so this is where I call home. And I'm going to fight hard for all the values that we care about. One of which is we're very concerned about the Parley's Canyon, the gravel pit up there. I've opened a bill, and I actually met with legislative staff yesterday to talk about fugitive dust. Some of the folks in our community were really concerned with one. They were looking to expand that gravel pit and open up a second site near the current gravel pit up in Parley's. And our concern is not only that expansion, and we're going to keep an eye on seeing what we can do to make sure they are not able to open up and expand up there. But the second, as it exists, we're really concerned with what's called fugitive dust there and how the state is currently regulating those states, the dust that comes and comes out of that gravel pit there. Bryce Bird, who is over Department of Air Quality, we are looking into, is there more that needs to be done to manage that? So that's one that's on the agenda. Another one is a meeting with the University of Utah. My understanding is years ago, there used to be a committee that would work with the U of U, and it had members from our community and members from the U of U, administrators from the U of U. Since then, it's kind of gone away, and the communication has not been great. I know a lot of folks are extremely concerned about the baseball field that's coming over on Sunnyside and what that means for the local neighborhoods. That's out the gate. Has been in the works for a few years now. Now the big thing is to hold the university accountable to the neighbors and residents in our community and making sure that it doesn't have a negative adverse effect on the quality of life for folks around. It's not only sound, but safety and accessibility for neighbors as well, right? So that's something that I'm gonna be asking that we look at how do we improve our communication, working relationship with the U of U and with our community. And second, how do we get more, I know they go through and they do work sessions on those baseball, on the baseball stadium and on Sunnyside Park as well. But I think can be a lot more done to really kind of make sure that we're always in the know of whatever progress that they have going on there. This year, so I have a couple of other bills. I'm doing kind of smaller things where one is getting more funding for Department of Health for them to be able to fund. There's a waiting list for folks who have severe disabilities and have been qualified for services and cannot afford those services. So we are working to get a few $1 million to help with patients on that list. Brain and spinal cord injury, trying to help patients on that list. And then another bill with EMS providers to make sure that they're more accountable when they have patients under their care, when they're transporting patients and having all the equipment to make sure that patients are taken care of there as well. So a couple of things working on my end. For the committees that I have been assigned to, I've been assigned to business and labor, rev and tax. I really was working hard to try to get onto the natural resources and environmental committee. They compromised with me and gave me natural resources appropriations. And in some ways, that's a little bit, that's almost as impactful to see how the funding from the state goes to some of these things. Big on the list that leadership in the House and the Senate has indicated for this session is energy, housing, transportation, higher ed. Namely, higher ed, the concern there that leadership has indicated is a 10% cut across the board for our higher ed. It sounds like they're getting a lot of momentum. They're getting a lot of pushback, but they're also getting a lot of momentum for getting that done. Some of the discussions have been, they're not cutting 10% off across the board right away. They are going to take 10%, put it aside for now, and then require all of our higher ed institutions to meet certain check marks on what they deem as getting in line or being compliant to what they believe higher ed should be. Then they would release the funds back to them. So that sounds really crappy to me. I don't love it. I mean, I think higher ed, all of our institutions, but public education and our higher ed institution does not have all the funding that they need to fully be able to be the community benefit that we need. That being said, I'm in the works with leadership on talking about our public education and how we have something called continuing technical education through our public education system statewide. There's 34 different tracks like medical, computer science, construction, all these different tracks that students do have to require to take at least one course before they graduate. And it's kind of meant to be for career training, readiness for folks who may not choose to go to higher ed or secondary education. I'm working with them to say, can we look at more funding? If you're gonna try to not give higher ed some of these funding, what about looking at reinforcing our public education system, making sure that our students have an alternative to if college and universities are not there, it's not accessible for them, they have other training. So that's something that I've always been very passionate about, is public education and making sure that we do have really well-funded, trained teachers to be able to just have a good public education system here. That's in a nutshell. It's gonna be a rough year, especially all these things with immigration that I don't know if you guys caught one of the press conference that leadership in the House held recently about immigration and how they are saying that they are going to focus on targeting immigrants who break the law, which is great and fine. But our concern as a Democratic caucus is what else are they going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing when it comes to immigrants who are here legally or not legally here. So we're keeping an eye on that. The other things that I think for this district is, I think some of you may or may not know with EPA stuff, and that's why I decided to open up that bill regarding fugitive dust is Salt Lake County has been downgraded on a national EPA level to non-attainment area. Non-attainment area means we are not currently at the level of doing enough to make sure that there's not those pollutants and contaminants in the air, particulates in the air. And now they downgraded us to an even worse level, that we have even worse levels of, PM 2.5, PM 10s. So there's going to be some bills coming up to kind of work against that, but we also know that our Republican friends are trying to override some of those federal EPA standards there. So keep an eye on that. And hopefully they won't be able to overt some of those federal EPA guidelines that they have here. So with that, I'm going to leave it open for questions. Jeff, I'm not great at talking and managing in case there are questions online, but if anyone in the room have any questions for me. Hi, Jim.
That relationship with the university was very good when President, you have to go clear back to Chase Peterson.
How long ago was Chase
We had
Peterson?
what was called the Red Book. I don't know how many of you know about the Red Book. That was a outline of what the responsibility the university had committed to the university. That has gone away a long time ago. And then we've had subsequent, what they call the forum meetings. I call it for them, but we haven't had it. I can't remember the last time we had a forum meeting. And so they have just whitewashed the whole thing, and we felt pretty happy standing.
Okay.
According to them.
My goal during session, we will have weekly newsletters coming out to give you guys updates on the things that I'm working on and other things that I need assistance from the community and things that you may be concerned about there. But the U of U is going to be an ongoing thing, and that is one of my priorities, to make sure that we have a better working relationship with those administrators again. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yep, there's 6 community councils in our district, and yes, thank you for that. Will be Matt. Matt Jenke here is a resident here in Yellowcrest, and he is on the House District Leadership Committee for 423. He is the vice chair of our district, so he's going to be helping me with a lot of communications and kind of rallying the troops in 23 when we need. Okay. What other things? What other concerns do you guys have that you would like me to kind of keep an eye on for you?
Big ticket items that, impact the whole state. Because those, we're all in the same boat. Regardless of where we live, when you think about the Great Salt Lake, when you think about homelessness, which we're kind of the epicenter for that. I
Mhm.
just, I don't know if you want to, talk about any of
Yeah,
that or address.
I would be
it.
happy to. Two things. First, the Great Salt Lake. I spent probably 8 hours on the phone speaking to about 5 different department directors about the Great Salt Lake to see, is there more we can do about making sure we are, checking on the health of the Great Salt Lake, make sure we're not in danger of losing more grounds than we have already with it. 2022 and 2023 legislative years were really good years for the Great Salt Lake. They have put a couple hundred millions of dollars into investing in the Great Salt Lake. The speaker indicated this year, we've done a lot, we're doing a lot. Don't try to run any more bills on the Great Salt Lake. I know there are folks who are going to try push. I'm working with Representative Doug Owens on a couple of things to see how we can push. And I have one of the leaders on the Republican side, Casey Snyder. We will be talking. He runs a lot of water bills as well. I forgot to mention, I was also just assigned recently to Water Development Committee. So that is huge to be able to kind of see all the other efforts year round on what they're doing. This committee meets outside of session, and it's a regular meeting that we'll be meeting with all the different stakeholders on what the state's doing to look at the Great Salt Lake. So with that, me personally, I would not be running any bills this year, but as I get in, learn more, learn who the players are. I don't know if you guys know this, but sometimes they pigeonhole certain lawmakers into the type of bills that they can run. Even though Casey Snyder is generally the one who runs it, I'm going to try to build that relationship with him so I can help co-sponsor some of those water bills, because I know that's a big concern here. On the homeless matter, I was fortunate enough to do a 2-hour ride along with Captain Derek Diamond yesterday of the Salt Lake PD. And Captain Diamond is over kind of the downtown area and oversees a lot of all of his squad works with all of the unsheltered population. I will give the Salt Lake PD credit that I have businesses in downtown Salt Lake, and in the last 2 years, namely ever since COVID, they have made a tremendous effort on making sure they are getting people into shelter, giving them the resources they need, not loitering, not building huge camps. And Dan and the council has been great to really give all the support that these officers needed while they're on the streets. On a state level, right now, there's a couple of things that they are looking at. He took me actually to a place, there's not a name for it, the micro shelter that's under the freeway that is the state-owned. All of the freeways that we have, all the interstate freeway, the ground underneath of it is owned by the state. I did not know this until the ride along yesterday. And they had created a if I'm running out of time, please let me know, okay? I don't want to take up too much of your time. They created a micro shelter over, I don't know the exact coordinate, but it's on the, thank you.
We had it last year, and they just took it this year.
Yeah, and it is, if you guys ever make your way over there, you would not even know that it's a micro shelter that's housing 50 folks there right now. And in order to get into it, you do have to be assigned, meaning that you're going to abide by no alcohol, no drugs, no weapons. And the neighboring businesses around it were really up in arms when they heard it was going to be a micro shelter. Since then, they have loved how the city has and the state has managed all of it, and they're actually working with that microsite. That model, I think, is really great to be able to have it smaller sites that are inconspicuous around the city that doesn't cost a lot to get up and to get folks off the street. Right now, they estimate they need 1,200 more beds. So it's a little drop in the bucket for the 1,200 more beds that they need throughout the state to be able to get folks off. So from the state side, they are looking at more microsites around on properties that they own. And secondly, we have the receiving center over on 9th West and 33rd South, the Huntsman Receiving Center, that's going to be up and going in a matter of, Dan or Hannah?
It's supposed to be it should be up at the springtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in just a matter of a couple more months, this will be a receiving center to send folks, instead of sending them to jail. If they do have mental health issues, they will be able to go to this receiving center and get the services they need. And then the state is also looking at a central campus idea. And that one, there's still lots of debate on if that's gonna work or not. So that's just one of the many things they're looking at. So on the homeless side, I don't know if you guys have noticed, I personally having go downtown every single day, I've noticed a huge difference. What are you guys experiencing when you're around? Do you guys see the difference? Do you guys think there's other ideas that we need to be exploring?
Well, you've seen some camps, right?
Oh, yeah, they're.
In Miller and
camps in
also
Sunnyside Park.
Sunnyside and Miller.
Inside, yeah, one of the land,
Have those been reported?
they're not permanent,
Yeah,
but we,
I-
you
I-
never know when they're gonna reappear.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have that, Hannah? Is Detective Fallows, is he the one who's assigned to this one?
Yeah, it's not.
Okay,
He may not see those, it usually goes to the probably downtown area.
okay,
Because they work for the homeless, resource center.
okay. Does that answer your question for some of the others?
Yeah.
Hi.
My mom owns not in District 6, but in District 2. I would say like North Temple maybe, and it just in front of her place. And it's kind of like where Red Iguana is in all of this. There's so many, there's a lot of like most people still like lounging around there, so it's not a very good look. Like a lot of times people come up to the business and like, oh, that looks like a cool place when I get and then they just won't because there's like someone lying outside or
Yeah.
there's like drug deals going on every day.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the hot spot that Captain Diamond did take me over to for. I mean, there are still definitely hot spots around. I just think overall it's improved, but there's definitely, and when we were driving around yesterday, his officers, they were everywhere, and you see them walking up to some of these folks, and when they're walking up to them, they have resources available to ask them, do they need help with I don't know the whole list that they are giving them, but I will say they're working right now. And if you guys do in the residential in our community is experiencing issues with this, make the call, because more than likely when you make that call, you'll see them within when I've made the call, I see them within 12 hours of trying to address it when they can.
What's the best way to report it? You call, you do the app? or-
I would do the app.
Yeah,
it's
the
a
app's
great-
Can you walk us through it in like 2 minutes? Hannah?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, maybe just like 2 minute overview. I've never reported.
Yeah.
it once.
We'll do that one second.
Thank you.
Okay. Jim,
One of the things, there's a rally on Saturday, it's about the lake, and there's another one on the 25th, at both the state capitol.
Yeah.
It's an interesting coalition of SUA and, World of the Lake and the Sierra Club. And, who else is in that? Gila, Utah. It's really a good thing, but it's a grassroots thing, and it's the people, the voice of the people, not the politicians and bureaucrats.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's gonna amount to, but
I think it's in the afternoon on Saturday. I think it starts around, I think they told me around 2 or so, but yeah. Do you have information you can share with folks on where they can look it up?
It's just a view, and I don't want to show up, I guess.
Okay.
You can look it up on SUA's Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance is one of the big pushing it. But there's a strong coalition of different groups.
So session starts January 21st. In February, if I can, I would like to kind of come and give you guys like a mid session update on what's going on there. It'll last until March, the first week of March. So if you want to reach out to me, go onto the legislature's website, and my phone number, my emails all on there. So please reach out if you have any concerns. But like I said, a freshman lawmaker coming in, I'm gonna have so much coming at me. It's already been like that for the last 2 months now, and it's been fun, and I've learned so much, and I want to hear from all of you. I want to make sure I'm there and addressing the concerns that you guys have, to make sure that our community stays the great community that we have here.
Sorry to monopolize, I got one more quick question.
Yeah.
Why did what happened in LA, which is tragic? And we live, as Dan knows, Dan's closer than we are over here. We've got forests and we've got woodlands in our backyard, and heaven forbid, that we would ever have to, face something like they had to face, but I think we've got, Laura Briefer, we got her at the helm, doing our public utilities, and I think she's fabulous.
Yeah,
And we're trying to upgrade that whole system, which is, 100 years old, and that's a good thing. But I would love to get somebody, put that whole thing on their radar screen, so that we think proactively about that, Dan, because that's your backyard.
yeah, and that, we, on Tuesday night, we had our briefing on state side of the house, and one of the, priorities, the legislators that we got briefed on was the, urban rural interface, wilderness interface, basically the foothills interface with the houses, so that is on their radar. Not two reasons, for the fires, but also for the insurance, because some of the homes are not able to insure their homes because, of that risk.
Yeah.
So that is on their radar at the legislative house. That's what we got briefed on.
So I live over at the mouth of Parley's above Foothill, right there on the east side of Foothill. This past summer, we had I don't know if you guys saw that burn scar when you're heading up Parley's, that big burn scar that we had. That was literally right next door to several of my neighbors right there. I'm just a few doors down from that. And that was some folks coming up. We have that development above us now, and they put the roads in, but there's no homes up there yet. And so we had some presumably kids or so coming up, they lit fireworks and it just went up in flames within minutes there. It was caught on doorbell cameras. It was so scary. I want to, when my subsequent year, I do want to look at more harsher penalties. We already have a firework ban up on the east bench above Foothill.
People ignore it, especially kids.
Yeah, but we need to have a better solution. Things are getting drier and drier, and with so many homes up there and all of us, like, it's scary. So I do want to look at more solutions for some of us, well, all of us here who would be heavily affected by wildfires.
I actually think the state is doing a much better job than the city with respect to wildfires. The state came down in Miller Park, for instance, and said, get all this dead wood out of here. And the Parks Department said, no, we want to keep it there.
Did you say they want to keep it there?
Yeah.
Okay. Jim, you and I need to go walk Miller Park
They-
again,
they
don't
went-
we?
They did have the fire department there, but they talked about that, so.
Yeah, the fire department is in disagreement with the state, put it that way.
Okay. It's time to walk Miller Park again, isn't it?
You know that last week. Well, I think in the Glen, they were clearing wood for about 3 or 4 days last week. I wonder if it was dead wood that you're thinking.
Yeah, they took out a big cottonwood tree that was falling over. It's been like that for 4 years. So they finally took it out, and they didn't take
I don't
anything
think I
out.
see any questions online. I don't think I see any questions online unless you see some. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate all of you so much.
Kind of full support.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay. It's gonna be a wild ride out there this year. All righty, Ashley McDonald, if you want to come up. She's working with Asana Partners on the Foothill Village development. If we pull this up.
Thank you guys for having me. So today I was just going to walk you through some updates on Foothill Village. My name's Ashley McDonald. I lead redevelopment for the Western US for Asana Partners and overseeing the project at Foothill Village. Asana Partners, we own property in 25 markets across the US. We're focused on retail investments, all primarily kind of redeveloping existing assets, not ground up development. So kind of Foothill Village is right in our alley of stuff that we look for. Love Salt Lake City and really excited to be a part of the community. So just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a high level update, we purchased the property in August of 2021 and we're in planning mode for quite a bit of time. What we saw when we bought this was, a center that hadn't been touched since the 1980s, had a lot of opportunity to, you know, remodel the facades. But one of the biggest opportunities we saw was in an obsolete Steinmart box that sat at the very heart of this project. So what we envisioned was some of the things that we saw here was it was very vehicle centric. And this Steinmart box actually created an opportunity where we could create an opening for a walkable connection to the community that surrounds it. So what we've conceptualized and are implementing right now is essentially cutting that building in half. We're creating a paseo with common area seating and all kinds of placemaking elements, and creating a grand stair that has kind of seating built into that stair that leads into Curtis Park, which then leads into the neighborhood. So here's some just kind of grounding on some before and after renderings that I'll run through. So this is the top image looking at before redevelopment, and then the post project rendering. And that leads, you know, there's a new entry to the underground garage that's pretty underutilized as well, and a stair that will pop up right there. So we're hoping that that'll drive more parking and use to that garage as well, and just be good for all. Here's a closer up image of the new paseo. So lots of common area seating, turf that we're creating, really trying to make this sort of the heartbeat and a community gathering place. All the types of tenants that you see here, a collection of about 15 or so units from the ground floor and the second level, a collection of, you know, service, restaurants, you know, health and wellness type uses that we're targeting here. This is an image from the back of the building when we're finished with the project and what it looked like before. So really this project turned its back on the park and on the neighborhood, and what we're doing is creating a front entrance here. So this is kind of the grand stair that I mentioned, and trying to create a walkable connection here. Taking a step out, this gives a little bit of a flavor of the facade remodel that we're doing throughout. So you can see just we're taking the 1980s aesthetic and modernizing it. And then in the, you know, background, you can see how that interrelates with what we're doing at the Steinmart box. Here's another image of kind of the before after looking at the north side of the property. This part of the project has actually recently been completed, so you can actually see this in action. And there's some other sections of the project that have been completed as well. So it's really starting to kind of, you can see it materializing as we work through. A high level from a project schedule perspective, everything that you see on this map that's in the light blue color is complete at this point. So we started with 2 of the out parcel buildings fronting Foothill Drive first, and recently welcomed Flower Child as a new tenant up there next to Costa Vida. Some of the tenants that we had in the Steinmart box on the second level were relocated to the second level above Starbucks. So Core Power Yoga moved there, and Foothill Orthodontics. And we've executed on a lot of some long-term renewals with existing tenants, signed a new deal with Dan's for another 25-year term. And, you know, Babinski's recently renewed. So really kind of a lot of renewals of existing tenants, as well as bringing in some new uses that you see here listed. So recently opened was Slice House Pizza up on the north end. Face Foundry recently opened as well, and A-Line Boutique and Patty Wax. Some other tenants that we have coming here soon. We recently signed Shake Shack, and they'll be opening where Cheddar Burger was. So they're going to be starting construction very soon. We expect them to open within the next few months. So that'll be exciting. I know their signage is up and has confused a lot of people. They come looking for it. So the excitement is growing. High level when this project will be completely finished. So we're working our way around the facades and sections. Those should wrap up in kind of the April, May, and they're kind of happening in rolling phases as you've seen the north side. The Steinmart box, which is kind of the crux, has been going for some time now. That's going to be finished this summer. And we've been working on leasing that up, pre-leasing that as much as we can. Those tenants should start their build outs, you know, call it late summer. We're targeting a grand reopening with hopefully a critical mass of those pre-leases opening by the fall. And so work from a like impact perspective, we're looking at this summer. So we're most of the way, we're through a lot of the pain and getting there. And just kind of a high level update on that Steinmart box. We've signed one official deal with JD Flannel Donuts. They're ranked the best donut in California and are excited to establish roots here in Salt Lake City. And then we are negotiating leases with 3 other groups right now. So we should have some exciting announcements soon. Lots of kind of your fast casual sort of concepts in this location, as well as some wellness brands and kind of some unique offerings in terms of, furniture and creative ideas, things that are interesting to shop for. But once we have official leases signed, we'll announce additional users. Here, I'll just run through a couple images of some of the before afters. This is one of the out parcel buildings where Flower Child opened. So you got the before images, the renderings, and then the completion. This is where Starbucks is located. Again, kind of before rendering and completion images. And then here are some images of the recently completed north end of the shopping center, as well as some progress photos. We just started working on the Dan's demolition on their facade this week. And that's anticipated to go through March for that facade remodel. Here are some images of that Plaza Steinmart box. So you can see an image looking in, it's starting to come together with those retail spaces. And then those stairs that we referenced and saw images of on the back side of the building, up on the upper right-hand side. These are some of the shop spaces where you've got high sushi, east-west connection on the lower side. And we've actively under construction there and working through that part of the project right now. The other piece I wanted to hit on was Curtis Park. So, we've spent the last couple years working with a volunteer from the community who's been spearheading efforts to receive funds for a larger project across the park. And we've been trying to figure out ways that we can help and contribute from the private side on stuff that we can do now that sort of dovetails with that vision. That project received some CIP funds for design, so should continue to materialize over time. What we're looking at as a contribution on our end that can dovetail with our construction is completing the walkway from the center of the park, or from kind of the center walkway entrance that leads around the existing park up to where the grand stair entrance is, and creating some of those placemaking and park elements with seating and some upgraded landscaping in that section. So this is just a real high level sketch. We've been in the midst of working through legal documents to make that official. Have had our architect and civil engineers look at some grading plans, but really this kind of gives you an idea of, the area that we would be focusing on. And while simple will be, intended to be continuation of placemaking elements and places to sit and hang out and be the start of a broader vision for improvements on this park on the long term. And so that's really all I had. Happy to take any questions. Yeah.
With your taking down that Steinmart box, do you guys have plans? We have quite a bit of young families in our neighborhood. Do you have plans to make it more community events there? Live music or water feature stuff where kids can safely come, families can safely come and hang out and enjoy, our summer or warmer evenings?
Yeah, I'd say what we see long term is we'd love to partner with the community. We don't own the park, but we want to be a partner and having events and celebrating that and kind of work in tandem with community. But would love to see the park activated and
Well, what about on the plaza itself?
on our yeah.
Is there room for those?
There is smaller events. We're working actively right now to engage groups to kind of help us plan for that. we're targeting sort of a grand reopening as kind of the start of that in the fall of next year. And then once construction's done, having a collection of more neighborhood focused, events like, kids events and things that are family focused, music in the plaza, stuff that's just ambiance and nice too, and recurring. Yes.
I love what you said about moving the focus from the car-centric paths to the more pedestrian focus. But as a parent of a tween, they're anxious to walk to Foothill from all different directions across Foothill diagonally. The roads are so sketchy and access has never felt great. Do you have plans to smooth out safe access for pedestrians across some of the area roads or, on the path where you're talking about that front entrance? There's no real crosswalk. A lot of people are trying to evade the speed bumps on 21st and cut through the top road at high speeds, and they're frustrated with what's happening on Foothill, they're frustrated with what's happening on 21st. So how are you thinking about access for pedestrians and roads?
I mean, that'd be great.
That's our issue. So I've had some conversations with a visiting on 22 West, and we talked about some making there, making the crosswalks, and putting some firewalks to make it narrower, so it's called mapping, so it's getting down, so that doesn't happen. The transportation department is spoken to, like I know from the transportation department, he's going to canvass the neighborhood on that, there's possibilities of slowing down the traffic going from the west side across into the park. After there's like 3 or 4 intersections there. There's walkways there, there's crosswalks there, but narrowing those, that means the distance from the crosswalk into the park. So that is a conversation. Now it's going to be up to the neighborhood, like says, yes, we're amenable to that idea. And that's always the challenging part is, so that's what we're going.
Hearing from people in 22nd, are they anxious to have less aggressive drivers?
I think so. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. And this one neighbor, I met with him and was there also, and our transportation partner. For the transportation partner, they're all excited. So I spoke with him today, and he's going to start canvassing the neighborhood. So hopefully we have something there in time for you guys. But then we're also working on, we're actually just talking about, with Ashley's group, the CIP design of the park and kind of sprucing up the playground areas, the biggest one.
Because there's so much potential for kids and.
Well, also,
tweens and
this will really promote people to walk there, because otherwise you have to walk around. Now I call it the old subway place, right? So this would be.
Yeah. And I didn't mention one of the other components that we're adding as part of these improvements, and why the grading is so important is we're creating an ADA access point. We have an existing elevator. We've got it's a long ramping given the grade changes, but the ramping will be there and lead you all the way to that elevator so that ADA access is established here that doesn't currently exist.
And we also talked about the Foothill 20, the sunny side, the 13 south, 2200 east, left-hand turn off the Foothill. Picture that, you come out the Foothill, then you want to make a left-hand turn at 2200 east. Now that gets clouded because traffic going one direction blocks traffic going south. So we're asking transportation, when we put those, pay on the ground that says, hey, do not block type of sign, so that people aren't blocking that area. Yeah. And I would say the Kensington on Foothill, more people are starting to use that. It's a nice walk across instead of my there and crosswalk. It's quick and it's
Awesome. Thank you.
So we're working with Ashley, we're working with the CIP, and there was another resident of the area on the CIP project, the Curtis Park project. He asked for, when I first spoke with him, 2 years ago, was that, hey, break it down in a couple phases so we can get funding for it. And we were able to get, rearrange some of the pots of money and get funding for 60,000 for design. And that, along with some of the funding from, Sonic Group, hopefully that will get us kickstarted, that may then lend itself to getting more funding for upgrades in that park. Those are always difficult to go. They always, they want $1 million. Hey, we got 60,000 to get the design side of the house. Can we just get maybe the playground done? Because the other one is a retention pond. The north end of it is really just a retention pond. So there's really not much you can do there, but there's the berm around it that we can possibly work on. So that's on the court, Kirsten. Appreciate Ashley's and their work on that. But first of all, I wanted congratulations or condolence. Congratulations on having your fourth child. You need one more, then you got a full basketball court. Yeah, you're set. And also, I just wanted to shout out for the email, the e-letter that Jan and the group puts out. It's got some wonderful information in there. If you don't read it, you should, because it's got some great stuff in there. And these I'm going to mention real quickly on a couple of things that's already mentioned there. The local historic district, we tried to get it before Christmas. It's probably going to be February. I don't have a time frame of that because we have a couple full meetings between now and February. So hopefully it will be in February. And I'm not the chair yet, so I'm not the chair, so I can't tell you on what that position is. I haven't talked to her recently, but I know it's painful. But also,
But they took a little bit of a monkey wrench.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. Yeah.
Maybe you just encourage you to.
Yeah. We do have a new chair. Chris Wharton from District 3 is our new chair, and Alejandro Puy is the vice chair from District 2. They just took over office on the first meeting, which is on Tuesday. And the RDA chair and the RDA vice chair will be elected on their first meeting on the 21st of this month. Conversations on the sycamore trees are ongoing. I've had a number of conversations with Zara and a few others. She's also talked with Jill Love. I'm putting out a council request for additional funds for the sycamore trees. The public utility, urban forestry said, hey, we'll throw in $100,000 to do this testing, but they'd be taking that away from other trees. I'm like, I don't want to take this away from other trees. I'm asking for additional money from the council side of the house to take care of the sycamores. But then not only just take care of our sycamores in our neighborhood, but take care of our sycamores and our trees across the whole city. I call a tree as a capital asset, right? But it takes 100 years to grow a 100-year tree, right? And we don't want to lose any. You can always buy a new car and you have a new car the next day, right? You don't get a 100-year tree the next day. We may not see that in our lifetime. So we want to make sure we take care of our older trees, but we also want to take care of our trees across the whole city because that urban canopy is so vital across the board.
So to that point, it just feels like in the last 20 years, like 20 years ago, I would see crews out, trim the trees, keeping everything looking tidy. I walk in the neighborhood now and it looks terrible.
Yeah,
and it's dangerous too, right? It's dangerous to pedestrians, it's dangerous to park cars in the street, all these things, right?
So that's
So what happened? Is the mindset of the mayor's office, the city council, that we don't care anymore?
Well, 20 years ago, in 08, 09, we had a downturn. And I also think over the last 20 years, trimming the number of trees we have and taking care of all that stuff is labor intensive and it's expensive to do. So I think part of that is that portion of it. The treatment of it is also probably an expense side of the house and labor side of the house. And so my question to them is also that same thing about the treatment side of the house. We want to take care of our trees consistently, right, all across the board. They are going to be trimming some of the trees in the near future. I think along probably Hubbard and Michigan, because they do need some trimming. And you're right, just like your yard, you need to trim your trees. We also need to do it on the public side house. We also have a lot more trees now, so that labor and that expense is a big expense that we need to try and overtake. But we do need to take care of our trees because, right, I go back to that 100-year tree, a 20-year tree takes 20 years to grow. So you don't want to lose those trees. But you're absolutely right. And the question about the treatment is one of the questions. We used to treat those trees. We haven't been. You have some climate change issues. One of the, on the sycamore trees, one of the diseases is from wet springs, probably wet and cold springs. And this last spring was wet and cold. And so you have that and you have this disease. Now, they've been around for a long time, so they know their roots go everywhere. So they're drought tolerant. They've been through a lot of droughts. So it's not the water inside the house. It's that wet spring when we had a lot of moisture. So how does that all play into it? We need to take care of our trees. So
Dan, are you aware that urban forestry may remove several hundred sycamore trees in our neighborhood?
no,
Talk.
yeah.
I agree that to a degree.
Yeah, and again, if it's through the grapevine, I don't know, because I've had conversations with urban and they
Okay.
hit to that. So, and I would fight like hell to remove 100
Yeah,
trees.
that's a conversation.
So, we already talked about the garbage, February 3rd, don't forget it. If you do miss that first one, just let them know if you can't make it for another week, they'll come through it. It's much more efficient for the city to pick it up, to do that, and you pick up Monday instead of Tuesday. Okay, I think I can handle that one. As Representative Wynn said, the legislative season starts 21st, the day after Martin Luther King Day. So far, we've had over 200 bills have already been introduced. And that's a lot. And we haven't even started the session yet. And we have a quick brief on ours. And for us, transportation, housing, water, energy, local control are some of our big issues. For Salt Lake City, we have a number more of that, but those are some of the top items. What we're hearing from the legislative side, this is working with our lobbyists, and you can go to Tuesday's meeting to get the full download of this. School security is a big deal, and the resource officers that we haven't, we're going to be required to have in our schools. Well, that's great that they want school security officers and police officers in the schools. We need money to do that. It's not like that they don't come free. Home ownership. We're still pressing home ownership. You know, the governor says he wants first-time home buyers and new homes, but we don't have any new homes going up in Salt Lake City, and it doesn't look like we're ever going to get the first-time buyer of a pre-existing home better loans for them, because they want new homes. That's from the state side of the house.
They only want single family, or a lot of the buildings in Salt Lake.
So, yeah, they again, they also just want single families, which is kind of a, across the board, developers tell you the missing middle, condos, townhomes, smaller homes is what people, the younger generation want. They don't want a bigger home. They don't want a bigger yard. But they're still talking about a new house, a new housing, not a previously owned home from the state side of the house. We pushed this a couple of years ago, and they've just kind of like, no. Who? Yeah. Energy is a big deal, right? Rocky Mountain Power. There's a lot of conversation between Rocky Mountain Power and the state, and the governor wants this gigawatt program, but he also talks about new and clean and renewable energy there, but also nuclear power. Nuclear power is not going to come for 20 years, at least. But Rocky Mountain Power's got these new rates you're talking about. So there's a little tension between Rocky Mountain Power and the state legislators on energy. So
I don't know if anybody else has noticed, it's like a 25% increase and I keep.
Yeah.
Repeating 66, so it's not like I'm just.
This is all the list that we're hearing from the state legislative side of the house. This is not from just me coming out with you. One of the other things is just election security. That's I won't say anything. We talked about the urban forestry interface with Jan already. Data privacy is another big deal for the city or the state. The policing and the homeless side, I'll get there in a second. And the other one is immigration, and we already touched on that. And we'll see that. We can't really do anything at this point. We need to see what the feds and the state wants to do. We're going to continuously do what we do right now. We don't really do a lot with the immigration because we have ICE and we have the feds on the side of the house. We take the person to jail if he's committed a crime. And then they can work on the immigration side of the house at that point, but that's still, we gotta wait until we see what's coming down the line. I don't think we're gonna start, playing, what if at this point. There's no sense in turning the wheels now on something that we don't know what's gonna come up about. On the police and security, the homicide, the governor sent a letter to the mayor before Christmas, outlining his wants, his needs, his no, they weren't desires. Demands. Yeah, they were not desires. And she has until the 17th. She's working to the administration worked through the break, and she'll probably present that. I'm going to just say next week. She has until Friday to present that. Her goal is to have something before that. All the council members and have been working with the mayor on this plan, but it's really been in the mayor's standpoint, and I'm fully backing the mayor on what they're doing, because it's kind of telling a story of what we've been doing the last couple of years. And it's not an easy thing. Representative Wins talked about the campus model, the 1,200 beds. That has a pretty good chance of being in Salt Lake City. I don't know where. I mean, I can't tell you where I think I know they are, but there's some possibilities there. And Jan is working with an impact group. So there's housing and there's social work and there's the mental side of the house. You need both of them for it to work. You can't have one without the other. And it's a full court. It's not one solution for 1,200 people. It's 1,200 solutions for 1,200 people. So they're all individual solutions. We do need to get them a place to stay. We've noticed that when Representative Wynn talked about those micro shelters we have, the 50 units, we had them last winter. They worked out really great. People loved them. They had a lock on a door, they had a bed, a lock, they could keep their stuff. What we found is that it takes someone 3 or 4 months to get your circadian rhythms back to normal after living on the streets. 3 or 4 months. Think about when you travel to Europe or Asia, it takes like 3 or 4 days to get your circadian rhythms to where you are. Think of that period taking 3 or 4 months. And that's if you have now a place to sleep with a secure door and a place to, and a lock. So that's part of the issues on the homeless side of the house. Recently, the tiny home village opened up. They just opened up half dozen or so little apartments. That's great. They got 40 more and they got 400 more to do that. It took them 3 years to get there, but we're making inroads there. So we have a lot of stuff going on from a city standpoint. If the state wants to do this campus model, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take some time to do that. You still need to find the social workers and everything else to go there. But you can't fund just one and not continue to fund the diversified model that we have now and still make sure we have housing and social workers. So it's a big balance, and it's not, it's expensive. It takes some money. So that we're working on the letters for the governor, and then we'll be continuously working with the providers on the homeless side of the house, because there's a legal side of the house, the criminal justice side of the house, the policing side of the house, cleanup side of the house, the social worker side of the house, and going on. It's not just a simple solution, and we need to bring the education level of everybody up to this level. There's a lot who think they know the solution, but they're unaware of the complexities. And it's taken me a couple of years to get to a level where I feel like I have some understanding of what's going on, but it's taken a few years of working with adults. Representative Clancy, who is a Republican from Utah County, he's got a fairly good idea of things, but not everybody is at that same level. But also Utah County and Davis County and Weber County don't have much of they don't have any services. So anyways, that's my soapbox on that one. Any questions about that? I can talk faster if you want me to. We received a briefing on Tuesday night about the public utilities, our rate study. This last year we had a stabilization. We all know about it. We had a stabilization fee to stabilize our fees for public utilities, and that was allow us to complete this study on our rates. And they did a study that we were briefed on. It was about 45 minutes long. about the rate, and it really just focused on the residential side of the house. Our rates will change. I think we're gonna see a change in our rates. For the average person, they should go down a little bit for the residential compared to what they are now at this current level with the stabilization rates. The commercial industrial side of the house is a different story, and we didn't really discuss that. We were discussing the residential rate structure. It was very deep brief. Watch it, and if you can stay awake through the whole thing, you're very good. It was a complicated brief, but we're going to see some changes to our rate. This is a stabilizer rate across the board over the years, and based also on conservation too, because we do need to continuously conserve our water. You got a question, James?
Well, go ahead and finish what you're doing. I can just ask it at the end.
Okay.
Unless you're at the end.
Next week, we're going to do a retreat with the council, and we'll talk through some of our priorities for the coming year. For me, of course, it's the homeless, and the security is probably number one for all of the council members. For me and for the district is transportation side of the house, road conditions, and also street calming for us. I'm getting further along the line of working with UDOT, our transportation, and the university on traffic on Foothill, and moving forward on how we can get over this hurdle we have with Foothill. Part of that's capital funding for more buses from on the UTA side of the house. How we can maybe do some updates to Foothill to make sure we can get to at least a 15-minute bus head time. Vice right now we have a 30-minute head time. And this is also for all transportation in Salt Lake City. We have a 5-year plan that has some of this going on. I'm trying to push a little bit faster on, at least on Foothill, because the corner up there is there's 100,000 people that work and play up in the corner there every day, and you know it's a gridlock, as you all know. So that's and then of course air and water are my big presses. But I'll after the priority system, we'll come back and we'll give you an update on that retreat. You had a question?
Two quick questions, Dan. My understanding is that the prosecutorial side, you know, in terms of the criminal justice system, is going to slide from the county back to the city. Yeah, because the attorney's office, the city attorney's office, is gearing up with a new building with facilities, and they're going to add a few more bodies to that whole operation.
Well, the prosecutors are still going to be contracted out with the county. We didn't. Yeah, no, we were going. They were going to move over. They were going to come back to us. Now we're just keeping them. They're keeping them at the. Yeah, the discussion was that they're going to keep that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lastly, do you want to say anything about parks? I mean, there's a change at the top.
Yeah, and so thanks. Kristen Riker is no longer the director of the parks, and they're still looking and they're still interviewing for a director.
Retired, no job.
Yeah, that's right. And there's no director at this time. Excuse me. There's an intern director, Tyler Murdoch, the intern. They're still interviewing people. I asked again that yesterday. They're still in the interview process. So, and I'm not sure when that's gonna end.
Who's doing the interviewing?
The city, the mayor, the mayor, Jill Love. Yeah, we don't do that because it's a hire to the mayor's office.
I know it's a funny position. It's just the mayor.
Well, no, Jill Love probably. I mean, there's and Rachel's involved, and probably HR is involved, just like they did for the new HR director and any other director that they're going to hire.
Okay.
Yeah, they go through that whole process. And that's why I can't tell you who's on the list and who's been, because I'm outside of it. I don't have anything to do with it. So, but I have a lot of
We have a lot of park issues.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not yeah. And I
Might be the most important appointment this year.
So, all right. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Hannah?
I'm gonna share my screen so we can start off with a little demo of the app. The city has a new app that is launching next Wednesday. So you guys are gonna get a sneak preview. And just don't tell anyone. So. I don't know if they'll let me share my screen. Oh, it says someone else is sharing. Oh, here we go. Okay. We've got some. Okay, so for those of you who are smartphone users, the city has a new app that is launching. It's already launched, it's already in the App Store, so you can download it right now. I guess I should say we're like launching the messaging and the campaign next Wednesday, but it is already available for download. The app is called MySLC. It's available App Store, Google Play Store. The logo for the app is kind of our blue Sega Lily logo. You should recognize it. Feel free to download it now and start using it. The interface on the app is the exact same as this webpage. So this webpage is myslc.gov. So if you're more comfortable on your computer or just in a web browser on a tablet or on your phone, you can just go to myslc.gov. It's the exact same interface as the app, which is really nice. So it should be familiar in both contexts. This app shows the top 3 issues that the city hears about. These top 3 issues change, but today it's potholes, graffiti, and parking. And if you scroll down, there's the opportunity to put in a service request for really anything and everything in the city. Earlier, we were talking about homelessness. So if I type in homeless, a couple of different service requests come up. You can report a hazard like needles or human biowaste. You can report an encampment, like if you saw one in Sunnyside Park. You can report abandoned personal belongings, or you can even report a shopping cart. So you can pick any one of these. Let's do an encampment. Hopefully you guys can see okay. And the app uses your location, which is really nice. I use the app all the time when I'm out walking to report tree issues, potholes, graffiti. Anytime I'm out on a walk, I have my phone with me and use the app all the time, which is great. If you're previously were an app user of our old app before it was sunsetted back in December, you can use your same login information to sign into your account. If you had any cases at the time that were still open, those cases should still be open and be actively being addressed. But if you didn't use that previously, you can make an account, which will basically just save you this step of putting in your name and contact information every single time. If you have an account, it should recognize you and skip this step. But if you prefer not to share your contact information, you can just check this box to remain anonymous and you won't have to share anything. The only downfall with that is that we will have no way of reaching back out to you, right? So if you just say, hey, there's a tree branch on my street that needs to be cleaned up, we have no way of calling you back and saying like, okay, where is the tree branch, or when did it fall, or, just get more information. Or we also won't be able to call you and tell you that the job is done. So just for the sake of this, I'll remain anonymous just to save us some time. But then the next step is providing details. Depending on the type of issue, the app may ask for photos, a specific location. If it's graffiti, I'm often telling them, exactly which sign it's on. And if you're walking east on this street, you can see it, just details like that to make it as easy as possible for these public servants to come out and do their jobs. In this instance, it's asking the number of individuals in the encampment that you're seeing, if there's children there, if there's structures and tents, and any additional details. Like, for example, if you had an interaction with these people that was really aggressive or intense, you could say like, I felt unsafe, or, just give more details there. Let's see if it'll let me go next. The next thing it'll ask for is an address. So the app picks up your location again, which is great, but you can also do this from your home. You can move the pin around on the map. I'm sorry, I think the Wi-Fi is a little slow here, so it's not, there we go. You can move the pin around on the map to drop it where you were, or you can just type in the address down here. See if it'll let me proceed without selecting a location. There we go. And then the last step, I believe, is just to submit any photos that you may have. So once you hit finish, oh, I accidentally submitted a case. I'll have to go in and close that, but then that's it. And you will receive responses as those cases work through the system, either giving you specific updates, or sometimes it just says this case has been closed, meaning it's on our list and we're getting to it. I submitted a case last year for the trees next to my house that were looking rough in the spring. And while it did take them some time, they were able to come out and do an assessment within a couple weeks, let me know, this one's not gonna make it, we have to put her down. This one we can trim and take care of and it will be fine. So, and then, a few weeks later, they were there taking out my dead tree. So, really this is the best way to get things on our to-do list. And the city has a big to-do list every single day. And sometimes that's all we can do. And so the best thing, if there's different needs in your neighborhood that obviously are non-emergent, using the app or the myslc.gov webpage is the best way to get that on our list. Totally. Graffiti, I've sometimes seen a 24-hour turnaround.
Definitely graffiti, they will turn on.
Yeah, it's awesome. And graffiti can be on public and private spaces. So even if it's on like a business's sign or the side of a business, we do graffiti removal anywhere, not just on public property. So. Right. Does anyone have any questions on the app or my SLC? Yeah. Sure. Oh, cool.
You're from LA, but happy to be here. How many cases do you guys receive per year? Like, this is just so amazing that I've never seen a city that does this.
That's very nice of you. Thank you. I am really not sure. It's definitely in the tens of thousands. We have had so far of the new app, we've had around 2,000 downloads. So we currently have like 2,000 active users. So it really just depends on how many cases they submit as well, but. It's a cool feature. The team in IMS has spent a lot of time building this. I will just go back really fast to show you. While they've spent a lot of time building this, trying to make the interface as user-friendly as possible, there's always the chance that you'll run into a bug or something that's not quite working the way you'd like. So if you have an issue with the website or the app, you can search for website or app and it'll pull up this option to report a problem with the website. So that will go straight to the developers that work in the city and give them a chance to fix any of the issues that you're running into. So it's not perfect, but it's always a work in progress and we definitely encourage you to use it. So yeah. Any other questions about this? I'll go to my next presentation very quickly, but I think most of the things I was going to talk about already were talked about a little bit. So I don't want to, let's see. Okay. We already talked about trash day. One quick reminder though, is that the brown bins pickup for those will suspend on January 17th. So next Friday. So if you still need to get rid of your Christmas tree, now is the time to get it in your brown bin and get on the curb. That pickup will resume sometime in March when we're ready to start getting our gardens ready for spring. For those Christmas trees, please try and cut them up into smaller pieces if you can to fit in the can. Next, the mayor's office is piloting a historical markers program in Salt Lake City, which is pretty cool. This is a chance for folks to submit applications to make a historical marker somewhere in the city to commemorate a historical site, a person, an event, or even a structure in our city. And I think they're specifically looking for parts of our history that are maybe undertold or overlooked. So if you have any ideas, I mean, I'm sure Lynn has a million ideas, but those applications are due February 28th. I have a couple physical flyers over here for anyone who's interested in applying. 2 finalists out of the applicants will be selected for a historical marker. This is a pilot program, so hopefully it's well received and hopefully we can continue to do it in the future because it's kind of cool and educates visitors to our city and, kind of highlights fun things in our past. So lastly, I'll be here for office hours in the month of February on the 19th from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon. So feel free to stop by if you want to do a longer chat or tell your neighbors who haven't engaged with the city in the past. Yeah. I am not sure. I'll have to look into that and let you know. I would think so, but I'll double check for you. That's all I have. Does anyone else have any questions for me? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to take a picture? There you go. Sorry. Great. Any other questions? Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Or watch that in the football games. Anyone watching that? No? I don't know. I mean,
Find out.
It's a Ohio State, no.
it's Notre Dame.
Penn State and, no, no.
Thank you, Dan, Ashley, everyone.
10 to 10.
Before we close, anyone have any comments or anything? If you don't, just one thing, as I'm chair, one thing I've been thinking about a lot is like the community. I love this community so much, and I want these meetings to continue to be relevant and valuable. So I want you to reach out to me if there's issues or topics that you want to discuss. If there's someone you want to bring in to have us listen to, please feel free to let me know. Because as I said, I want this to be as valuable for the community as possible. And if we have no comments or questions, we'll just wrap it up. Oh, right here.
I thought that Tom's comment about communication with the university was very pertinent, and I'd like to see, I think we've been talking about kind of the coalition of East Vance community councils, put some pressure on the university to reinstate the Red Book, the University Neighborhood Alliance, UNA, and some of those things that were actually functioning. It's been a long time since we, had very much honesty from the university, and I think we need to make a push in that area. I think the last straw is the way that they ramrodded that
Baseball field. Thanks for bringing that up. Anything else?
I'll just make a comment. I will continue to push the university about these communities. I keep on contacting them. You can't just.
Is there someone from the U who could come speak to us?
I don't know, maybe because they don't.
Yeah, that's my question, is who would we want?
Chris Nelson, and I've talked to Chris Nelson before, and talked to others about updating. Just let's do it in the fall.
And they just,
They postponed it, and they're gonna do one. Board of trustees meet in February. So maybe it'll be after that.
in
I
March.
think we need somebody from the higher ed oversight committee. Somebody outside the university that has some control of the purse strings.
Yeah, I'm all ears. If you guys have names, I'm happy to go reach out and facilitate that.
The trustees. I mean, there's.
There you go. Yeah, I agree.
At the Regional's house.
It's right there. Coach Witt is right there. Yeah, if we get him to come in and, yeah,
And also read it.
awesome. Well, it's a wrap.
It hurt me done.
It's done. Thanks, everyone.